Good afternoon. We are living in Novueval times. My name's Matthew Tubicine, and I'm running for president. Matt, 2024. The reason I look so red is I'm here at a stoplight, and between the lights and the tail lights of the vehicles, this is what we have. So, capitalism is dead. The thing we call free market capitalism just does not exist. If it were free market capitalism, first of all, the government would not be involved in it at all, because free market explicitly implies that the market decides everything. The interest rate, the price of gold and silver, how much money anybody makes across the board. That when it comes to success or failure, everybody is in this competitive game together. The government does not bail out or subsidize anybody. You start taking all that stuff away, not to mention the Federal Reserve, the fact that the government prints money, which more or less decides how much that money is worth, because the more they print, the less it's worth. All of these things, they take away the free market aspect of free market capitalism. And the more of that the government is involved in, the less of a free market it is. And quite frankly, the government has its fingers in so many aspects of the market that what we have is not free market capitalism. I call it Kafoaskwek, a carnival freak show of an economic system we euphemistically call capitalism. It is a form of capitalism, but it's such a corrupt and manipulated system that it doesn't even approach free market capitalism anymore. I would hazard, though, that we are so entrenched in this system, it is considered the norm now. People can't even conceive of real free market capitalism, because if the government is not getting involved in some form or another, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you've got the capitalists saying, "Oh my God, the left wants socialism." Their form of capitalism has every bit as much the government having their fingers in the pie, messing up the mix, as socialism does. When the socialists say, "Oh my God, look at free market capitalism. Look what a wretched system that is." Well, they're lying too. It's not free market capitalism. The reason it's such a wretched system is because the government is involved. And one thing people do not, and just either don't know this, don't believe it, or just do not want to accept this, is if you had a free market capitalist economy, it would go up and down. It would go up and down a lot. You would have winners and losers continually, and that's just part of the reality. What we've got now, where they try to keep it from going up and down all the time, just makes it worse. We still have cycles, but they're even more drastic and more damaging. And the fact is, the ones that they've decided are going to be the winners, they never lose. It doesn't matter what the market's doing. They're always making money because that's the way the system's designed. Yeah, it's designed to even out the highs and the lows, but that just makes it worse. That makes the highs and the lows, when they come to bear fruit, that just makes them so much worse that it would have been if keep the government out of it, let the market do what the market will do, and it's going to go up and down. This is the way things happen naturally. You can't, we do not have enough power and control to ever stop cycles. That's just the way the universe works. We will never have enough power and control to make cycles go away. We can't. And for us to not only want that, which is stupid magical thinking, but to think we can have it, which is even stupider, more magical thinking, is just ridiculous. We should be teaching each other how the universe works, accepting these limitations to our being able to control things, and live like real men and women instead of trying to have a government, whether it's a socialist or a capitalist government, controlling things and making things all nice. That just makes things worse. It just makes them so much drastically worse when TSHTF, and we're coming up to a huge TSHTF event, and it could just end humanity. And this is not hyperbole. I don't think it will, but I think we are going to be knocked back to the Iron Age, and there's a lot of people who are going to die because they can't handle it, and there are going to be even more people who are going to suffer because they're not physically or mentally prepared for something like this. And it's a sad state of affairs, but the thing is, there are a lot of people who will do all right. Yeah, life is going to be hard. When has life not been hard? That's just the way life is. It's like Bruce Lee says, don't pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. All right, coming up, there is some video of the restaurant owner who doesn't know how to pay his employees enough money to get them to work for him, so he wants socialism for the rich, which, quite frankly, we already have, but he wants even more of it because he wants to starve the working class and the poor people of this country. That's in a nutshell what the rich are like. And then we've got a guy speaking at, I don't know, Davos, the World Economic Forum, whatever, about how the elite are going to plan everything for the rest of us, the proletariat, the ones who just can't figure out how to do anything without the elite leading us around by the nose, because being able to breathe, being able to drink water, being able to eat food, sleep, make clothes, make shelter, we can't do that without their help. Oh my God, that's actually what they treat us like. But there's that. Then there's I don't know who the woman is, but she was speaking at the same conference, telling them, oh, the great news is, I can't remember. Obviously, I'm driving right now, but I'll get back on the video. The great news is that there is greater cohesion among the elite anymore, that they're more in agreement as to how they must lead the proletariat that don't know how to live. Supposedly the smartest animal on this planet, and we don't know how to live. We need the elite to show us. Oh my God, this is what they think, and this is the message that they promote that, quite frankly, some people out there actually believe. But the good news is the elite are more in tune, more on the same page now than they've ever been. Unfortunately, everybody else, more and more, hates the elite. Why is that? Well, first of all, they call themselves the elite, as if they've got the universe figured out and the rest of us are just idiots who don't know a damned thing. That's not how it works. Anyways, watch these clips.
I'm not an economic professor. If you get $800 a week unemployment benefits, and you live with a partner who also is getting $800 a week unemployment benefits, $1,600 a week, Laura, $83,000 a year for that household in unemployment benefits. The median income in America is only $63,000. We're incentivizing people to stay home. What if we gave that additional unemployment benefits to employers to incentivize people to go to work?
Well, what if we just cut off the unemployment? I mean, hunger is a pretty powerful thing. I don't mean physical hunger, because people who truly are in need help. I'm talking about people who can work but refuse to work. But the government is literally putting anvils in many ways on people's shoulders, either through the mandates, regulations, and now through free money, which obviously we're all the piper eventually has to be paid. John, I want to ask you though about this idea of work-life balance, because look, no one wants to miss their kids growing up. No one wants to. You stay in the office your whole life. You never see your family. So that's really important. However, have we taken that a step too far when you think of, well, a lot of the millennials talking about, well, I need time for self-care. I don't know why I'm harping on that tonight, but the whole self-care movement is a little, I mean, my mother is not with us anymore, but she worked by the time she was 12 during the Depression. If she heard the self-care thing, I think her head would explode.
I think that's right. I have a friend in the military who trains military dogs, Laura, and they only feed a military dog at night because a hungry dog is an obedient dog. Well, if we're not causing people to be hungry to work, then we're providing them with all the meals they need sitting at home.
Your Excellency, Minister Mohamed Gagabi, Minister for Coordinating Government Affairs of the United Arab Emirates, Excellencies, dear participants, what pleasure to be together again and to design the future. We are here to develop the great narrative, a story for the future. And I would like to refer to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice Chairman and Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates and the ruler of Dubai, who told us that in order to shape the future, you have first to imagine the future, you have to design the future, and then you have to execute. What better place for such a meeting than Dubai? I came here the first time 47 years ago, and it was a small Greek minister, and now it's one of the most vibrant cities, one of the most inclusive cities in the world. So here, I think the next 2 days, we will look how we imagine, how we decide, how we execute the great narratives, how we define the story of our world for the future.
At Davos a few years ago, the Edelman survey showed us that the good news is the elite across the world trust each other more and more. So we can come together and design and do beautiful things together. The bad news is that in every single country they were polling, the majority of people trusted that elite less. So we can lead, but if people aren't following, we're not going to get to where we want to go.
And there's one more in the mix. It is Madison Cawthorn telling us how his new contract with America is going to make everything better. Actually, he doesn't tell us anything. All he says is contract with America shows a lot of this like science fiction background, green screen type of stuff, while he's just rolling around, looking around at how great everything is now that supposedly Republicans have been elected. And, oh, the world's suddenly a better place. He says the Green New Deal is just going to lead to socialism. We already have socialism. We have socialism for the rich. Do you know how much money the U.S. government and what is it, Arizona and somewhere else, possibly California, I can't remember, have given Elon Musk to make $70,000 vehicles, something that very few people in this country can afford, and he's losing money on every one. So, yeah, AOC's Green New Deal is just a non-starter because it's going to bankrupt us. But we can give people like Elon Musk money to basically make a product that loses money. This is what we call capitalism. This is how capitalism works in this country. This is what the Republicans extol as this great virtuous system that is making this country great. And I'm sorry about this lack of cohesion in this video. Uh, that last clip was cut off, so I had to resort to just filling in here. But it's as Teddy Roosevelt said, wherever you are, do whatever you can with whatever you have. This is the extent of my resources, so sometimes these videos are going to be like this. But watch this clip and ask yourself what, if anything, what this guy has said he or any of his cronies are going to do to bring about all of the things that he shows, all of the beautiful cityscapes, that really fast clip of the world with the cartoon world with all the trees and greenery on it, and how are they going to make that come about? There's no indication whatsoever anywhere in how he and his buddies are going to bring any of this about. And we know from experience that all they do when they get in power is give money to the rich to make products that don't work, that at least don't work to make money. These so-called job creators, they're not creating good jobs. Let's face it, if you're working for somebody and you have to defecate in a bag in the aisles of the warehouse because you don't have time for a bathroom break, and that guy just bought a $500 million yacht, there is something fundamentally wrong with the jobs we are creating and these people that we call genius job creators. There's something really, really wrong with what we call capitalism and how we define it as great. Yeah, watch this clip.
The Green New Deal is a disaster. It's not a climate plan. It's a socialist manifesto, a Trojan horse for communism in America. I am tired of watching the DC swamp and political insiders capitulate to socialism. This is why I've come up with a bold constitutional plan. It's called the New Contract with America. We cannot build down. If we want change, real change, we have to come together and build America up. This is the world I envision. It's time to liberate the American people from government overreach that violates our freedom and robs us of our dignity. You come first. America comes first. The New Contract with America is an America First vision that takes the power away from government bureaucracy and puts it back into the hands of the people. It restores our liberties and builds a plan to preserve our freedom for future generations. I choose freedom. America chooses freedom.
So there we have it. A wealthy business owner who's probably living in the lap of luxury, whining about how we're all lazy and he needs more money so he can starve us. And then you've got Klaus at Davos telling all the well-heeled in attendance there how they need to create a great narrative now that they've implemented the Great Reset, which I don't really know what that means. I mean, I know what they think, which is we want more power, we want to control people. And I guess they think they've accomplished that somehow. And let's face it, given that fewer and fewer people have more and more of the resources all the time, yeah, they've got more power and control all the time too. There was no great recess. It was just the continual process of the greedy and least psychologically capable of actually carving out a path for the rest of us. Not because they're leading by example or anything like that. They're just forcing us into smaller and smaller boxes. But yeah, you've got Klaus telling his cronies how they're going to create this great narrative. And then you've got the woman afterwards saying how they need to lead, but we don't want to follow. And then you've got Madison Cawthorn. Yeah, he's riding around a fake landscape saying how, not even saying how this is going to be, just saying this is how it's going to be when people like me are elected. Not telling anybody, there are no details. There are no, we're going to do this that, and the other, and that will bring us to this place. Just that we can be in this place if you elect me. And it's like, God, how stupid do you think we are? I mean, on average, I know there's a lot of really stupid people in this country that are going to vote for you and people like you, but for Christ's sakes, man, at least say a chicken in every pot. Well, that's pretty much the same thing. But the thing is, the restaurant owner doesn't want capitalism. Well, he does. He wants it for everybody beneath him, but he wants socialism for him and everybody above him so they can control everybody beneath them. And that's, pretty much the way it's always been, but they want even more socialism for themselves and none for us. And Klaus and companions thinking they're going to design the human existence because the human existence does not exist for us. They have to design a human existence so we know how to exist. How boneheadedly fucking stupid is that? Quit yanking my chain, man. But you got those two. You got Madison Cawthorn. And the fact of the matter is, all of these guys, all four of these people, we are going to see widespread societal collapse. And it's not because of the hippies. It's not because of the socialists who wanted real socialism, across the board for everybody. It's not the people who wanted actual free market capitalism without intervention and without manipulation from the oligarchs who unfortunately automatically always manage to get their fingers in the government, which manages to get its fingers into the system, and then free market capitalism is gone. But again, there are cycles, and regardless of what you're talking about, there are cycles when you develop a system or a process or whatever and say, this is how we're going to do things, it's going to be great. That might be right. You may have designed something that actually is going to be really grand for a while, but it's going to come apart. And it's going to come apart because humans are involved. And it's not just a human thing. And it's not just a biological or animal or organism thing. It's not just nature. There are physical laws in the universe. There is entropy. And there are cycles. There are economic cycles. There are cycles of culture and society, and things go up and they come down. And it's the same thing for empires, and we're seeing the fall of the American empire. I mean, I would say it probably reached its peak for about 20 or 30 years after World War II, and it's been in slow decline ever since, and that will speed up drastically in the future. And I'm hoping the not too near future, but that might be what we're looking at. The thing is, all of the isms, all of the societies and empires and economics and everything, they're all cyclical, and they all go up and they all go down. And to think, in terms of the economy, for example, that the graph is always going to go up and to the right because we have this great capitalist system which puts us on top of the world and American exceptionalism and blah, blah, blah. It's fucking bullshit, man. Things go up, things come down. The American empire, we've already seen our peak. We are starting to peter out. Things are going to fall apart. And consider this. When you've got the alt-right, the extremists in the right-wing party that are willing to destroy democracy in this country to keep a man who is a total bullshit con artist of a circus clown in power, if they're willing to attack and successfully attack the Capitol based on that, imagine what the groups and the violence may be like when people realize how bad things are actually getting and who was involved in bringing them to this point. Because things go up and things come down, and there's nothing we, in total, can do about it. But there are always people who are involved on making things go up and making things go down. And we know who those people are. And like I said, they're not the hippies and the socialists and the capitalists. They are the scumbag power mongers who detached us from the gold standard, who implemented an education system that was designed to make factory workers out of people instead of making them intellectually curious. Well, there's a lot involved, but all of the big everything, whether it's big oil or big agriculture, I mean, making crappy, non-nutritious food, separating us from our natural sources of food in any way they could. Just look at, I'm pretty sure it was Borden's, creating creating milk for children, and then convincing mothers that breastfeeding was harmful, especially in third world countries where the people are less educated and more likely to believe that kind of thing, especially when there are people like, you know, all dressed up in their fancy white nurses scrubs, telling the poor women in the villages, yeah, give this Borden's milk to your children because breastfeeding is bad. Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do. What we call capitalism, which is not capitalism, will do anything, including destroying the health and even destroying the Earth's capacity to sustain life in order to make more money. They have made a religion out of what they call capitalism, which it isn't, but they have made a religion out of this Kafoa Eswek, this carnival freak show of an economic system we call capitalism. They have made a religion out of that, and they have made as their god fiat currency. Basically, any kind of money, any kind of resources, any capitalism, by and large, even zeros and ones on a computer screen, which means they're zeros and ones. Well, they're numbers on a computer screen. Inside the hardware and software in the computer, they're zeros and ones. But that stuff doesn't even exist in the real world. And yeah, if they're crafty and cunning enough, it can be converted to real stuff in the real world. But there's a whole bunch of it just in computers right now that if the currency failed and there was a grid down situation, you would see trillions of dollars just disappear overnight. This stuff doesn't even exist in the real world. It's just fiat currency and electrons floating about circuits. So much of the world we live in is just based purely on a lie, just a huge fabrication. But that being said, there's a lot of videos out there on how to prep, and you should have as a motto, be prepared, don't be scared. Because I know this, when I've tried talking to other people, mostly on the internet, about this kind of stuff, well, one guy, when I started saying what I'm saying, this guy said, societal collapse? Oh my God, you need therapy. If you're that afraid, if you're that blah, blah, blah. And I wrote back, now wait a second. You're afraid of societal collapse, and because of that, I need therapy? That doesn't make any sense. So be prepared, don't be scared. The thing is, I've worked hard, and there's still a lot of work to do, but I trust myself to continue the process because I've started and I'm doing it. I'm doing it religiously. But just accept things. Just accept whatever happens, however this turns out. It was going to happen sooner or later in largely similar circumstances, no matter what the parties were, no matter who the politicians were, no matter so much of what we're looking at in terms of like climate change, transportation shortages, transportation disruptions, food shortages, all these factors, EDCs, and the fact that sperm counts are going down, populations are going to start to diminish. I'm thinking early afternoon, October 3rd, 2036, but we'll see what happens. But the thing is, yeah, we brought a lot of stupid wreckage down upon ourselves. But if it wasn't these specific factors, it would have been a whole nother set of factors, and it would have happened anyways, just slightly differently. And let me just touch on this, since we're in the midst of this now, and I don't think this is really, it's a big deal in terms of current affairs, but in the long run, I don't think this is going to be that much of a game changer. It's just another thing that's happening along the way. But Russia invading Ukraine, and you've got all kinds of people on the right saying, oh, this wouldn't have happened if Trump were president. And there is just so much hypocrisy. Now, don't get me wrong. I see all the corruption and stupidity and hypocrisy that happens on the left. But there just seems to be so much more stupidity and hypocrisy on the right because they just, there's no more corruption in my view, but they're just so much more blatant about it because they just don't seem to have human nature very well figured out. More people are registered Democrats than there are Republicans for a reason. But here it goes. First, the right said, well, this is great what Putin's doing. Isn't this great? And then they said, maybe this isn't so great because, a lot of people are against it. So it's probably not so great. But it wouldn't have happened if Trump were president. Well, which is it? Isn't it great that Putin's doing it? Meaning, good thing Trump isn't president because Putin's doing this. And now, well, it's not great that Putin's doing this, so it wouldn't have happened if Trump were president. But Putin is going to fail. It's just a matter of time, and nobody can predict how long that's going to take. But Putin is going to fail, and this is probably going to be his downfall, which means there's going to be a regime change. If that happens, and it will, this means it's a good thing that Trump isn't president, because if he were president, Putin wouldn't have done this stupid thing and would have remained in power forever. So, simply put, a lot of what the left says is just boneheaded. Really? Did you just say that? Stupid shit. But the right says it like fucking stop. It's like, my God, can't you people stitch your lips together? Every time you open your mouth, you just make it worse. But unfortunately, and this goes on both sides, and I understand that my worldview, while it's constantly changing, whatever I'm immersed in then, I'm willing to forgive a lot of stuff that fits my worldview and get very upset about stuff that doesn't. And I'm very hard trying to change that, and that's a whole lot of work. But it's better to do the work and in the long term be a better person for it than not do the work and be like the people on the right who, regardless of what Tucker Carlson says, and if it completely contradicts everything he said yesterday, well, that's all right. It's Tucker Carlson. He's on our side. And I just see that with so many people on the right. It doesn't matter what they say and how much it contradicts something that they were saying the exact opposite about just a week ago. Well, that's okay. Oh, isn't it great what Putin's doing? Oh, Putin shouldn't be doing that. And he wouldn't be doing that if Trump were president. And then when Putin's out of power because he fucked up, oh, see, Trump did that. Believe me, that's what you're going to be hearing. When Putin gets kicked out because he fucked up, everybody's going to be saying Trump was the one who initiated that whole thing. And we'll see. I might be wrong, but I see it going that direction. But in any event, don't be scared, be prepared. And for me, being prepared means first and foremost developing the proper mindset, being as psychologically balanced as I can, given my wiring and my life experiences. And these are the variables and the limitations that are going to be different for everybody. We're all going to start in a different place, and we're always going to be in a different place on this journey. And a huge part of that for me is learning to accept this is where I'm at. However much I wish it were different, that I could do things differently now, that sense of urgency or impatience. I want to change. I want it now. Don't they make a pill for that? No, they don't. There's no pill, there's no app. It's time, energy, practice. It's work. And I'm doing that, and it's harder than I thought. I've done a lot of hard work in my life, digging ditches, all kinds of stuff like that. A lot of day labor jobs where that's not what this video is about. I've done a lot of hard work. Masonry in Key West, in some of the hottest weather that I've seen. It's hard work. Changing myself has been the hardest task, chore, job, whatever, that I have endeavored to do. But it's certainly the most worthwhile work I have done in my life. Even more important than the creative stuff that I do. Uh, but yeah, as hard as changing myself is, I am inside of this 24 hours a day. So I don't have to go anywhere to start working on this, to do all of the other things. It's stuff outside of me, and while in the long term it may be easier than changing this, I still have to go out there to get those things, like a community of like-minded people. That's going to be hard to cultivate. I'm just starting to learn some about the ham radio. I actually have one, but there's a whole bunch of stuff involved in that. It's just complex and involved. But I'm starting to learn about that. And in terms of that, if you want to do that, by all means, start doing that. I would strongly suggest it. And the thing about that is you can't just buy a radio and start using it. You have to buy the radio. You have to learn it. You have to be licensed to get on most frequencies, or else the FCC is going to come knocking at your door. So, yeah, buy a radio and start learning and get licensed. That's what I'm doing. Medicine, eventually, I think that's really important. But that's one of those things, if you're really lucky and nobody ever gets sick or gets hurt, it's good to know, but it's one of those things, it's better to know it and not need it than need it and not know it. But if you don't know it and you don't need it, you always got to breathe, drink water, eat food. You better have those things down. Being able to communicate, that's important. And the reason I'm going over this is, it doesn't have to be a zombie invasion. When a hurricane comes and the grid is down, and I was in Key West, nothing happened, and the Wi-Fi went out. Nobody could do anything. I mean, yeah, you could still use your telephone, but beyond that, nobody had computer access. All the stores were closed. You couldn't get gas anywhere. Basically, the whole island just shut down. So these things happen. These are not extreme events. They're not daily occurrences. They're quite rare, but the chances are they're going to become more common in the future. Our infrastructure is breaking down. We can't get government to agree on what to do about it because, God forbid, I'm not even getting into the politics of all that. It's just that stupid that we are. It doesn't matter how much technology and progress we have. We're always going to come up short in circumstances that we should be able to beat. Because we're human and humans do stupid things. So, keep that in mind. It doesn't matter how many genius job creators you have. If a tornado comes through your neck of the woods, the more prepared you are, the better your chances are going to be when you crawl out of the hole in the ground or the rubble that was your house or your bunker or whatever your circumstances are. But you can't count on the elite. You can't count on government. That's not what they're there for. Their job is simply to garner more and more power to themselves. It has been scientifically proven our representatives do not represent us. They represent the oligarchs, and that's in future videos. But do not despair. Prepare. The more prepared you are, the better off you're going to feel about whatever's coming down the pike. And that's where I'm at. In point of fact, I think in the long run, it's going to be better for us if there is widespread societal collapse, because things are just so bad now in terms of, well, that's a future video also, but just the loss of privacy, so many things coming down the pike that are going to limit our ability to function as humans. Just more and more control, less and less, well, we're just going to be more and more removed from nature, from our sources of food, from everything that makes us natural organisms, because none of that stuff is really good for what we call capitalism. It's not really capitalism, but that's a whole nother video also. The more prepared you are, the more comfortable you're going to be looking down the road, not knowing what's coming, because nobody does, but knowing I'm in a better place than I was yesterday. Yesterday I was in a better place than I was last year. I'm doing a lot better. Whatever happens, I'm prepared for it. And that comes down to, regardless of what happens, if you've built up a level of acceptance, no matter what the future brings, then it doesn't matter what the future brings. So prepare. There you go. We are living in interesting times. And summer is coming. This one will be long. Gird your loins. Thank you for watching. And if you didn't watch, well then, what's wrong with you, man? All right, talk to you soon.